Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. Welcome to Friday. Appreciate you guys joining in. It is what is it? Friday the 22nd. So we're almost in December and we're almost to Thanksgiving here in America. Before we get into things, I just want to say I appreciate each and every one of you guys tune in every week. Massive Iron Live is probably the longest. I think it's the longest running podcast live Q&A in the history of the lifting universe. But who cares? We're not trying to keep score, right? We're trying to solve problems and help you guys reach your goals. That is why I'm here. Before we get into things, if you are new or you are watching late, just know that I'm here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Excuse me. Don't hesitate to post up your questions. Doesn't matter if the question's been asked 1,000 times before. I'm here to help. Plus, your questions help to educate everybody else. Wonderful questions help to educate people. So don't be shy about posting up your questions. If you don't have any questions, just post up random comments. We'll read that as well. Black Friday is coming up, and I want to talk about that real quick before we dive into the questions. I'm not going to ramble on for a long period of time, but I do have a yearly coaching special. It is $7.99. If you are interested in any of this stuff, you can head over to Instagram and message me for more information. Or you can, let me find it. You can go over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. You can go over there and check out the coaching tab. I'm going to have some other interesting things for Black Friday. So what I'm going to have, my wife came up with this idea, is we're going to have a massive iron mystery box. You know the subscription boxes you get? Well, we're going to put together a limited number of these, 10 of them, and they're going to be like a massive iron stocking stuffer box. There's going to be some things in there. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but they are going to be massive iron related. So look for that on Black Friday. One of the things I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be releasing a new service called an assessment. So basically, you can sign up for an assessment for $24.99. This is going to be a great value. Okay, I'm not going to overcharge on this. You're going to fill out all your information. I'm going to get all your information, how you're training, what your nutrition is, how your weight has been, etc. And then I'm going to do a video where I'm going to go over all of your information and I'm going to assess all of your information and live on video and send that to you for only $24.99. So I'm going to be doing that. Look for those assessments, that assessment service come Black Friday. I got a couple of new T-shirts for Black Friday. We got some other things going on for Black Friday. Hold on a sec. Let me just see what I got here. I wrote down a list of all the things I wanted to do for Black Friday. I'm going to put phone consultations only $59.99 down from $99. So if you want to do a phone consultation, that'll only be $60, $59.99. T-shirts are going to be $14.99, deep discount. I'm not a T-shirt company, but I'm going to sell those at cost. I'm going to be doing custom workouts for only $39.99. And I did a service where I had somebody pay for a phone consultation, and we built a workout for them live, on video. So I'm going to be offering that as a service come Black Friday as well. And just in general, if you don't have the money to pay for a year of coaching, I just need to say this. I live on coaching, right? Coaching is what I do. I was voted the online coach of the year by Trainerize, the world's largest coaching app. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or whatever you want to say. I'm happy for that honor, but honors don't pay the bills, right? Coaching pays the bills. Coaching is how I pay the bills. And if you have not ever had a coach, or if you're interested in coaching, please consider checking out the coaching tab this weekend. Get in now. I am looking to add about 20 people between now and January 5th. I have a new workout tracker app coming out somewhere around March or April. So this is going to be the last big push for me as far as coaching goes. I'm not giving up coaching at all, but I want to get in as many folks as I can right now before we look at releasing the app. If you're interested in coaching, check out the coaching tab. It is only $89.40 per month. It is one of the best values in coaching, and I'm able to do that because I coach full-time for a living. My coaching is different. I check in with you every single day. So once you sign up for coaching, we set up a time to talk, and I'm with you every day on my private coaching app, looking at your workouts, looking at your form videos, just communicating with you. Most coaches, you sign up and they do a weekly email check-in. They look at your workout, write a few things, and it's very impersonal. And I'm not bashing on that style of coaching. That's just not the way I do things. So if you want coaching that is deeper, more rich, more robust, and more fulfilling and highly personal, highly interactive, please give me a chance at superlivingtoday.com. Check out the coaching tab. All right, enough with the commercials. You guys just keep your eye on the Black Friday stuff. I'm going to be talking about it next Friday on live. I'm going to be going over all the services, so come back for that. And all right, so let's see what we got. Let's dive into questions. A couple things. If your questions don't go through, try shortening them. Sometimes if they're too long, YouTube will censor them or throttle them or won't let them go through. And if your questions still don't go through, try rewording them. Sometimes YouTube has really strange filters. All right. Happy Friday. It's snowing here. Let's get into lifting, shall we? Rico, good afternoon. Thank you, Rico, for joining in. Rico sent me some electrolyte drinks, amongst other things, and I've been having one of those a day. I thought I had the can sitting here from last night. I worked pretty late last night. I got out book 8 of the massive omnibus, and if you haven't seen that, please head over to superlivingtoday.com and search omnibus. Book 8 is on bulking and nutrition. I got that out last night, and I was drinking one of the electrolyte drinks. And that is 360 pages of information on fat loss and bulking and what have you. Just a really good book full of information. Big Joe B, a client of mine. How's it going, Joe B? Good morning, Team Massive. Joe B is a client of mine, always killing it. Rico, what kind of devious program have you concocted for yourself lately? I just went through a season where I was on bench press doing the 10x10 program. And I need to have a season right now where I am doing fewer sets, but trying to get more out of those sets. So what I've been doing lately is I've been doing ramping sets of 10. So on bench, I would do bar by 10, 135 by 10, 185 by 10, 225 by 10, and then like 275. So I've been ramping up with my warm-ups, doing a little bit less volume. That's what I'm doing on the big lifts. On the smaller lifts that don't require a lot of warm-ups, I'm basically doing 2 sets and trying to maximize both of those. I have kind of a season right now between now and March is going to be pretty busy for me as we try to get out this coaching app. So I still want to train frequently. I just need to not have it take 2 hours like it has a tendency to do for me. So Big Eric, excuse me. Know your opinion on getting strong on the compound movements. How do I build a strong core for squats and deadlifts? If I imagine having 2 times body weight on my back, I think it would fold me. I want you guys to know that if you're folding, most of this isn't your core, okay? Most of this is form. And that's what I'm here for. You guys can send me a form video at any time on Instagram or join my Discord server. You can join the Discord server. Check out my videos this week. In the description box, there's a link for the Discord server. You can post form videos there anytime. So I want you to know that most of the issues you're going to have in folding is going to be technique. If your knees are inside of your foot position, as you try to sink, you're going to have a tendency to fall forward. The bar path is going to move a little bit forward. So that's really what we want to dial in. As a baseline, if you want to just, we have different levels of core strength. We have the functional baseline, and then somebody who is super excited, right? Very excited about building up a really strong core. The baseline, I would challenge you to just be able to do 2 to 3 planks of a minute, or rolling planks. Rolling planks or shoulder tap planks are more engaging. A regular plank, it seems like time stops, right? It gets pretty tedious. A shoulder tap plank, you're in that position and you do 1, 2, very meticulous, 3, 4, and you can count to like 50. So you're actually counting reps, and it makes things go by a little bit more quickly for me. But you want to be able to do 2 to 3 of those, and maybe some ab wheel rollouts for 2 to 3 sets of 15. If you have that, you have pretty solid base core strength. Not excessive, I mean, not Herculean, but reasonable enough for the big lifts. Beyond that, you can work on core strength any way you want with like cable wood choppers, cable crunches. You can do decline sit-ups, something I used to like to do holding a plate, etc. Let's see, another question from Eric. Can you give us insights on how you have trained your squat the last 20% to your highest numbers? Sure, absolutely. And before I do so, I want to let you guys know I have the Ultra Strawberry Dreams today. We're going pink. I have a purple one in the fridge. So I came from the bodybuilding world, 1986 to 2007. I had a squat anywhere from 360 up to about 365 by 5. So I remember basically the first 20 years of lifting, I would ramp up. I do, I believe, 275 for max reps, 315 for max reps, and then 365 for max reps. That's just what I did on squats. And I kind of got to a place where I wasn't stagnating, but I wasn't really pushing myself. I wasn't really pushing myself above 365 by 5. And then somewhere around 2005, 2006, 2007, I was introduced by a coworker to the concept of powerlifting. I remember being at the job, and this individual would talk about things like wide stance squats and west side and bands and chains and box squats. And this was like a foreign language to me. So I would go home, and, it was the earlier era of the internet, almost 20 years ago, and research this stuff. So I started to think maybe at that time, maybe I could get stronger on the squat. And I started to think a little bit more about strength, because honestly, you get to the point muscle building wise where you really, after 20 years, you're not building a lot of muscle. That's just the way it is. I mean, it's not like I just gave up, but you really don't build a lot of muscle after 20 years. It's kind of what it is, right? So I went down that corner of strength training a little bit, managed to get my squat to 405 by 5. And I remember somewhere around 2007, 2008, I don't remember the specific days or years, I could not get past 405 by 5. I don't know if it was mental, I don't know if it was physical, but I had a whole year where I could not get past 405 by 5. And I was kind of obsessed with it. I tried everything. The one thing I didn't try was a lot of lower rep work. So randomly, I decided to start trying working up to a max daily single, double, triple quad or even a 5-rep set based on what I felt like that day. Now, it wasn't a true max. I would go in, I'd start doing my warm-up sets on squats, bar by 10, 135 by 5, 225 by 3, 315 by 1, 365 by 1, 405 by 1. And based on how I felt then I would just continue to ramp up. And I might try double, triple, whatever. Never a true max because that gets a little bit too dangerous or punishing. But on any given day, I might do 545 by 5 or 645 by 2, depending on how I felt. And I would basically be squatting every third or fourth day. Mentally, it was extremely challenging. When you have that amount of weight on your back, literally, I would have the phone handy. And at the time, I would tell my wife, please listen, because I'm in a basement with 600 plus pounds on my back in a half rack, walking things out with no spotters. Like, what could possibly go wrong, right? So it was a mental challenge. You really had to be dialed in on form. And, the weight's going to come up or the weight's not going to come up, or disaster is going to happen. You're going to tear a hamstring, but you have to focus on form. So I would, every third or fourth day, I would do that. I would work up to a max single, double, triple, or quad, and then I would do a couple back down sets. So if I did 645 by 2, I might back down to like 545 and do max reps, and then like 405 and do max reps. That type of training, once I was more advanced in my bodybuilding, muscle building, type of work, that type of training really pushed my squat up. Now, I did a lot of things with my bench, and I'm very stubborn. It's hard for me to get my bench past 430. I'm generally better. I hit 430 or was around there twice. Once when I was 346 pounds and once when I was about 308 around 1999. No, 274 around in 1999, right before I hit the 300 mark. I was pretty much at my strongest pressing-wise naturally around then. But I've tried everything on bench, the low rep stuff. I would say bench is more complicated. Even though I did a lot of low rep stuff, I think you have to get a little bit more complicated with your bench. Eric, don't feel my hamstrings during leg curls. Also, don't get a pump. Don't worry about the pump. I don't get a pump on my hamstrings. I can't feel them. Eric, if you can get a form video, I'd like to see what you're doing and take a look at it. You want to be very meticulous. I like to be what I call focused and control during the concentric or the execution of reps. And then during the eccentric, very controlled, holding, not slow. We're not trying to do slow-mo eccentrics, but I'd have to see something, on video to see if there's anything maybe we can do. There's different type of leg curl variations, seated, standing, lying. If you have a back extension station, you can do a glute ham raise. I'm going to show you guys a video. So hold on a second. Let me just get the video. Glute ham. I think this is a very underrated back exercise. There we go. I found. So hold on. I got to mute it because we don't want to. YouTube gets really weird about showing videos, giving you copyright strikes, even if it's on your own video. All right. So this is, I think I got this muted. Yep. This is a glute ham raise on a back extension station. You have to set it up properly, a little bit of dialing in. But if you have a back extension station at your gym and you don't have fancy things like a glute ham raise or that sort of thing, you can do these. And I found they really, really hit my hamstrings nicely if you focus properly.
If you're looking for a
so I go down,
quality
touch
way
the ground,
to work
and I
your
come up until my
and you need
up
some
until
other
my
choices other
shoulders
than leg
are
curls
over
and
my
Romanian deadlifts.
knees,
Look for the back
right over my
extension
hips.
station in your gym.
So you're basically
you can do
doing
a glute ham
that way.
raise on a back
Is
extension
it a perfect
station.
exercise?
Now
No.
here you can see what I do is I go down, touch the
maybe a hair
floor,
above
and
leg
when you
curls
pop
on the
up,
food chain,
instead of
for
just
me
simply
it is.
doing a back extension,
You guys might
you
not
pop
like
up
it,
until
but
your shoulders are
I
over
feel
your
it
knees.
definitely
This
can
way, at
help
the
target
end, you're getting a
hamstrings.
little bit of
You can do a
hamstring
lot of
curl,
work here
working the
pretty
hamstrings
safely.
pretty
And if you
hard.
need to overload, you can
Now
hold
take
a
your time
10-pound
on
plate
these.
and then
Don't
move up
rush
to a
them. You want to be
45-pound
very
plate,
controlled and get
maybe
a
on
good
weighted
hamstring
vest,
feel, a good
maybe put a
hamstring
couple of,
contraction on the way up.
Female cheerleaders on your shoulders or male strippers.
All right, if you're looking for a quality way to work your hamstrings,
yeah,
and you need some other choices other than.
All right. Thank you for answering my questions. Look forward to these Q&As. I can't thank you guys enough. I can't thank you guys enough for supporting the channel. Someone said the video wasn't muted. I thought I had it muted, so I apologize. Regarding that, Eric, this is what I live for, helping people. I appreciate you guys tuning in every week. Like I said, coaching is what I do for a living. So, just being able, I help everybody I can for free. And I hope some of you that, in the new year, if you're looking to amplify your results, you'll give coaching some consideration. Big Jimmy, thanks for giving up yet another chunk of your Friday. Hey, man, this goes both ways. This is all about community, and this is all about helping people. Can you review the JM press? I feel like sometimes I'm a little bit too chesty with it. Number one, anytime you're doing, I'll say this, there are many isolation exercises, we call isolation exercises, that we kind of assume you're only going to feel one area, right? Like on a cable tricep extension, you're like, this is an isolation exercise. I should only feel one area. Why do I feel my abs? Why do I feel my front delts? That is the nature of lifting. There are very few isolation exercises that are pure isolation, right? Really, if we think about it, even a bicep curl, you're working your forearms, you're working your grip, you're working, you might even be working your front delts a little bit if you get a little bit of elbow rotation, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that there's really not any pure isolation exercise. Everything is kind of on a scale. When you're doing the JM press, the thing you want to do is kind of bring it down. I bring it down. Where you bring it down in this range depends on your limb lengths and leverages, right? So you tend to have a more narrow grip. You don't want a bench press grip, because if you do that, you're going to get really weird external shoulder rotation and shoulder stress. So a more natural grip, something that feels comfortable around this range. You start out here and you allow the elbows to bend and go wherever they want to go. Let the elbows kind of, you don't flare them. You don't do this, that looks like some kind of a dance, right? So we don't want to be dancing during JM presses, but you want to kind of let the elbows go naturally where they want to go. You don't want to tuck them and do this either, like some weird flapping alien bird. You want to lower it in this area, but the goal isn't to how low you can get it. The goal is to lower it comfortably to the point here and then press it back up. When you press back up, I want you to think about driving your elbows together towards the center of your body. See, that's the lockup. Boom. That's when you're working your triceps. One of the biggest tips I can give you guys on any triceps exercise is when you are executing it, like a close grip bench or a JM press or a cable tricep extension or a seated triceps press down, think about driving your elbows together towards the center of your body, okay? That works on many, many tricep exercises, and that'll help you feel or focus more on the triceps, if that makes sense. Yvonne, good morning, Yvonne. Thanks for tuning in. Richard, Greetings, deadlift day, hamstring work, easy lower back. What do you recommend, stiff leg deadlifts or RDLs? You know, I have become a really, really big fan of stiff leg deadlifts this year. I love the way it feels. I'm able to get a really good brace. I would say you can get almost a better lower back brace on a stiff leg deadlift than I can on a regular deadlift because of that really acute focus, the starting position. That doesn't mean a stiff leg deadlift is better overall than a regular deadlift or inherently better than an RDL, but I just like the way it feels. Let's put it like that. So if you're doing hamstring work, it's much easier for most people to figure out a stiff leg deadlift. Your hips are slightly lower than your shoulders, and you're starting with a braced lower back, and you just stand up, right, and drive your glutes forward. An RDL is very, very misunderstood. So what do I recommend? Probably for most of you, alternating between the two. If you don't want to load up a barbell, you know, yet again, I mean, sometimes as you get stronger or you get more experience, just loading up another barbell gets tedious. You know, I remember my peak years, you know, loading up for deadlifts and then loading up for RDLs and then loading up for shrugs and loading up for squats and loading up for good mornings. I mean, you just get sick of loading up deadlift barbells after a while. So sometimes it's easier just to grab and go with dumbbells. So don't rule that out. You can also do like a hex bar RDL or a machine RDL, Smith RDL. But honestly, I'd probably consider doing both. If you don't like the RDL, I would probably alternate between the stiff leg deadlift and like a glute ham raise variation, something like that. I train at home. I can't do pull downs or excuse me, pull ups. Pull down, I don't have a machine. What exercise do you recommend to replace a vertical pull? So we want to be able to work our lats, okay? We want to be able to work our lats, but we don't have a pull down machine, okay? So we have to kind of focus on what we can do. One of the things I have become a fan of in the type of home training arena is two exercises. Number one, you can do a dumbbell pullover. I like to do those cross bench, right? Not with my back completely flat because I like to have my hips below my shoulders when I do a dumbbell pullover. And I certainly don't do them a lot at my ripe old age of 57, but I think that's a good choice. You can focus on your lats and moving it at the elbows to feel your lats working. Another exercise I'm a big fan of is the lat biased or lat focused row. You're going to do a dumbbell row, and I want you to use straps. Instead of just pulling here, right, we're going to drive our elbows and shoulders back on a dumbbell row to feel our upper back row working. But on a lat focused row, you almost tuck your elbow a little bit more and bring your elbow more towards your hip. So if you're standing up, I want you to think about keeping your elbow more towards the body and driving your elbow back towards your hip. I can feel my lat working really, really well, really focused in that position. I want you guys to try that and see if you can feel that same thing. You want to be able to get that connection with your lat working. So I hope that helps some. Those are a couple good choices. What exercise is easier on the knees? That's highly personal, my friend, highly personal. There's no way for me to say for certain. It's all going to be how it feels for you. You know, it's going to depend on your body weight, your history, et cetera, et cetera. So just go with the flow and do what feels good for you. If you need some, some form help on any of these, just let me know. In your series of books, there will be one that touches on the topic of cardio and conditioning. Yeah, I'm going to get everything in I can. I was trying to get all the books out by Black Friday. I'm probably not, because it's just such a huge amount of material, and I don't want to miss anything, and I don't want to disappoint anyone, but I'm not going to mess around with this. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to take my time. 8 books are out right now. The book last night was 365 pages. It's called The Massive Omnibus. Book 9 and 10 are coming. Then after that, book 11 is going to be the programs, the meat and potato of all the programs. And then after that, we are going to, do a lot of the periphery stuff. I have a lot of running programs that I'm just going to toss in there as templates and, et cetera. So everything I've ever talked about, every article I ever wrote, every workout, everything is going to be in there, for better or for worse. It's going to be over 1 million words, and it's going to be biblical. I hate to, use that because it sounds cliche, but right now it is well over, it's well over 2,500 pages. I sell this for $99, which seems like a lot, but if you kind of look at what you get for it, it's rather ridiculous. When I am all done, I am going to sell each individual book probably for $14.99. So if you just want to get the bulking book, you can just get the bulking book, etc. Big Joe B. When someone exits a bulk, how hard should the caloric cut be? And should there be any stages? Like 500 first week, then 250 exits a bulk. There's no reason to dance down the road to a cut. A cut is something that there's no advantage to farting around. You want to get to getting. You want to get on to Gettingville, right? You want to get moving. So a cut can be, to use a French phrase, a pain in the ass. Not really. We're just being a smart ass, just having some bad humor. A cut is a cut. No one likes to cut fat. No one likes to cut calories. What fun is that? When it comes to a cut, you want to get it over with. There's no benefit from screwing around, right? There's just no benefit at all from, taking your time and dancing down. Just get to it, get moving, go to about where you think you're going to, be for weight loss, and then, and then get after it, right? So I hope that helps some. All right. Big Joe B. When pressing bench it or OHP. I just want to make sure I understand you here. Is there any issues with when getting to the limit to pauses? No. One of the things we need to understand is that, when it comes to what we're doing in the gym, we're trying to train hard. We're trying to get the most as we can out of a set. Some people get really paranoid that if you take a second or two at the top of a squat, or pause briefly to catch your breath at the top of a bench, that it doesn't count. We're not scoring reps here. We're trying to progress. Over the years, I've always, just worried about accruing reps. If you need to spend a couple of seconds, like 1, 2 on a bench, and then before you do the next rep, by all means do it. It absolutely counts. This isn't some, formed scorecard. It absolutely do it. At the end of a hard set, a lot of times we can be a little bit taxed from a cardiovascular standpoint, even a mental standpoint. Don't worry about these minor things, right? Don't worry like every rep has to be routine and equally spaced. At the end of a hard set, you should feel like you're being crushed, like your soul is being crushed, like your soul is leaving your body a little bit, right? When you get to that. So if you need to like shake it out a little bit or hold it for a split second to regain and then try another rep, that's not rest pause. And it's not like you're prolonging a set, you're still keeping tension. So by all means, do that. I want you to. The only thing you don't want to do is get extreme. You don't want to sit there for 25 seconds with the bar on your back during squats. If you do that, it's just going to continue to raise your heart rate. You're not really going to get out any more reps by resting, holding a bar on bench or overhead press. Basically what you're doing is regaining your sanity and control over your heart rate just a hair before attempting that next rep. So absolutely. Shelly, a client of mine, thank you for tuning in. Thoughts on rotating focus between deadlifts and squats during training phases, cutting deadlifts to hyper focus on squats, lowering squat volume to focus on deadlifts. The one thing with squats is I would never set them completely aside because I think there is a disconnect when it comes to the central nervous system and the connective tissue. So when you can do a deadlift specialization program and definitely cut the volume on squats. You could maybe reduce it down to 2 sets a week. I probably wouldn't go any lower than 2 sets a week because we want to maintain a focus on form. We want to maintain a focus on our central nervous system and maintaining our connective tissue strength. So I wouldn't remove them completely. If you want to focus on squats, I would say deadlift every other week. There's really not a penalty in my opinion. What I had typically done is I would do like some shrugs or power shrugs one week and deadlifts the next. You could even rotate in the hex bar deadlifts, but I wouldn't get away from them completely unless you really are going deep with the squats and you need every bit of energy you can muster and you're not deadlift obsessed and you want to squat frequently or multiple times per week. Then during a specialization phase, you could do that. Ending this year pretty strong and looking to make some massive gains next year, hopefully. Excellent. Already mapping out training blocks. Good. I like to see planning. I like to see you guys thinking about what's coming forward. I like to see that passion. That's a cornerstone of getting results. Let me get a drink here. Morning. Awesome results you posted of your client, Michael. Anything that stood out to you in the coaching? I made a rant last night. Well, I actually released a rant video that's been sitting around for a while. For whatever reason, I recorded the video and never released it. But the one thing about successful people, whether they're my clients or somebody else's clients, is that they tend to be the people when you give them a program and you give them a calorie intake or a calorie target, they just get on the tracks and they go. Okay? They just get on the tracks and they go. It's not that overthinking is bad. It's not that thinking through things is bad. It's not that asking questions is bad. Not at all. I highly encourage it. But the people that are successful just tend to trust the program you gave them, trust the plan you gave them, and they go forward. They move forward. They just do the work. They punch the clock. They do the work. So what I see in successful people like Michael and Scotty, who I posted today, and anybody else I ever post, is that two things. Number one, they just do the plan. It doesn't mean we don't do adjustments. We certainly do. Hey, this doesn't work. That doesn't work. This doesn't feel right. We make adjustments. But they're just super consistent with executing the plan. Also, successful clients, I don't have to tend to poll, right? Can I get your workouts? What was your weight? If I have to ask somebody repeatedly what their workouts were, what their weight was, there's a little bit, I'm trying to say this the right way. There's a little bit missing, right? We need a little bit more of the eye of El Tigre, the eye of the tiger, right? We need, like, the successful people tend to just do this meticulously, routinely. And it's not that the people, like, if I have to ask for workout reports or weight from a client, it's not like they're inherently going to be unsuccessful. That would be nonsense. Many people that are super successful that for whatever reason, maybe busy schedules or whatever, can't get their workout reports to me. But in general, if I am with somebody that I constantly have to pull, like, hey, man, I need you, reminder to send your weight, reminder to send your workout reports. In general, that type of person, it's not that they won't be successful, but the other type of person is almost always successful. Does that make sense? Shelly, what's a good way to test my strength before my cut? The best way, Shelly, is to get a plane ticket to Ohio, come down here and train for 2 days. We can test it right here. Shelly's a client of mine. I'm being facetious, of course. Shelly, let's talk about this. So we have to discuss, let's just say, speak in general terms, for anybody lifting that wants to test their strength before a cut, we have to first plan, what days are we going to test our lift? Are we going to do a powerlifting style, which is really rather tedious and I wouldn't recommend? Or are we going to try to test our lifts on specific days? So you want to kind of pencil those dates in stone. When am I going to test? And then you want to back out a little bit. You want to make sure you're not fatigued, headed into a deadlift test, headed into a squat test, headed into a bench test. So we have to kind of reverse engineer the workouts leading up to that. Like the week before a bench test, you can pretty much train normally. The week before a deadlift test, you probably need to deload a little bit and make sure the lower back is fresh. Squats, we need to kind of play by ear, look at your program. Probably do a moderate squat workout, nothing pushed to the limit, just a moderate workman type of workout. And then when it comes to the test day, we have to structure our warm-up sets properly where we're not overworking the reps while we're ramping up in weight to, warm up the central nervous system. So if you have more questions on that, Shelly's a client of mine, just, hit me up. We can structure everything together. Big Sam. During a cut, would you avoid the 4 to 6 rep range? Generally. I hate to make rules. Bench is going to be a lot more forgiving, but during a cut, you're going to be glycogen depleted, a little bit energy depleted. You're going to be a little bit flatter than normal for most people. Not all, and not every lift. Okay, so we can't make general, statements. But is there a lot of value in training heavy on a cut? No. Can there be possible downsides? Yes. If you go into a squat, generally not with bench, but if you go into a squat workout and you're doing like a 4 or 5 rep set and your glycogen isn't where it normally is, or your energy, and you get to like those last 2 reps and something goes a little bit AWOL, you're just going to have a minor or major increase in injury risk. I don't see any value during a cut in pushing. A cut to me is a hold steady time. If you get an easy rep, you're doing bicep curls and you're at rep 7 and rep 8 is going to come easy, then take it. There's, play safe, play smart, but save the big push for bulking and save the heavy training for bulking. Ice cold. Team Massive is back with another live stream. Come back home after crushing 3 sets of 5. Good. Nice work. Next big goal for you is 165. So let's see if we can get you there next year. That's good work. 135. Don't ever, anybody that's listening, 135 on overhead is a really good goal. A lot of men never get there. So when you can do 3 sets of 5, you're in a pretty good place. You get my respect. Is it normal to not enjoy training and feel burned out after a 2-month cut? Yeah, I would say so. I think after 2 months of cutting, all the life is sucked out of our soul. So, yeah, it might be time to exit the cut, go back to maintenance for a week, or take a little bit of a mental break. What are the benefits of pressing with chains? Number one, you have chains, right? Which just kind of increase the fun factor. There's something called the training effect. When you add something new or different in, we tend to perform better, at least in the short run. So changing programs, adding variables, we tend to perform better because there's a greater degree of excitement or anticipation. So chains can kind of bring that to the table. Chains, you can overload as much as you want. And when you unrack, it's going to feel very, very heavy, right? And a little bit unstable. But then as you lower it, you're going to gain a little bit of confidence because it's starting to feel a little bit lighter. And it's going to be at its lightest from the hole, which is kind of like a little bit of a confidence boost. And then you can generate power, and it's going to really hit you during lockout. So chains can really work the central nervous system a little bit from an overload standpoint, and they can work the triceps a little bit more lockout focus. All right, guys, this is where we started at 11 o'clock. I'm going to get a drink, and before we move forward, just a reminder, you right now, here's what I want you to do. Excuse me. Tonight, your homework, this weekend, your homework is the following. You're going to cancel Hulu. You're going to cancel Disney Plus. You're going to stop taking those supplements that you aren't doing anything, like testosterone. You're going to stop taking all those wasted supplements. You're going to save up that money, and you're going to do the best thing you could ever do for yourself. Sign up for coaching, right? It's as easy as that. Seriously, though, if you're interested, this is the time of year I'm trying to add about 20 people before January 10th. So if you're interested in coaching, please check out the coaching tab or just hit me up on DM at Ben the Barman. All right. Where was we? Big Ernie. How's it going, Big Ernie? Thanks for tuning in. Andy, good afternoon, Team Massive. Excuse me. Too much carbonation, right? Big Barbell Bryce. Good morning, Team Massive. Thanks to everyone for the overwhelming love and support towards my son, Sedrick. Guys, I want to mention this because it's important, and this is something that we have put together for Bryce and his son. So just give me a second here. Please don't go anywhere because this is super important. All right, let me find it. I found it, and I'm going to share it. Hold on a second. So Bryce has been a member of not just Team Massive, but Bryce has been a member of the lifting community He's a fan of Bald Omni Man. He hangs around the lifting community, supports content producers like myself and Bald Omni Man, etc. Really good guy, really hard trainer. Just a decent human being. He has an 8-year-old son named Sedrick who has a brain tumor. And I put together a GoFundMe yesterday to help raise money for whatever reasons. Medical bills, Christmas, toys, candy, eat all the candy, whatever. Cedric has a brain tumor. So we're giving money freely. We do not care how the family uses it. And I just put a random goal of 10,000. I don't know how much is appropriate and how much is needed, but if you want to check this out, I posted this on Instagram. You can go over to my Instagram and leave a comment, and it'll automatically send you a link. Just scroll down a few posts previously, or you can join the Discord group, which the link is available in the description box. You know, if you can give $5, give $5. You know, the thing about charities is that there's a lot of charities right now. And I know everybody's trying to pull your money away. I get that. Every time I go to Speedway, they want me to donate $1 or Roundup or whatever. And all that stuff gets a little bit tedious and impersonal. Like we're just banks. But this is a little bit different to me. This is somebody in our community. And, if you could give a couple bucks towards this young man. This is Bryce, and this is his son, Sedrick. This week, Sarah and I's world were turned upside down. We took our 8-year-old son, Sedrick, in for an MRI and found out he had a brain tumor. Within a matter of days, we went from having no idea as to why he was struggling in life to getting the news that no parent wants to hear. After a 7-hour surgery, Sedrick is finally awake and breathing on his own. The surgeon believes that he has removed the entire tumor, but it needs to be sent off to get tested. That is not a fun day for anybody. So anyway, Bryce, we have nothing but love and good thoughts headed your way. And if anybody wants to donate or can't figure out how to donate, just let me know. I will do anything I can to help. Barbell Beauty, thanks for tuning in. I hope you're feeling better. Ice cold. Yesterday, trying to do 20 rep squats. Wasn't fun at all. It never is. I'm laughing at the understatement. But I finished it. Good job. And moved over to RDLs. Feel like doing 22 reps next week. If you can, go right ahead. I find that on 20 rep squats, I sometimes like to do them, but just not I don't like to do them every week. So I did put together a protocol on video many years ago where I would rotate weeks where I drop weight like 10 or 15% and do 20 reps. There's different ways to approach it, but yeah, if you want to go up to 22 and you have big, juicy chesticles, then go right ahead. Mars, finally caught alive. Thank you for tuning in. What are your thoughts on behind the head overhead presses? Love them. They were the meat and potatoes of what I did for many, many years. And I'm going to show you a video of me doing them. I have one video of me doing them. I will say with BTN presses, I prefer you do them seated and stable. Okay. I only want you to take them down to about lower ear level. You can see your elbow is way below your shoulder at that point. You want to see when they're at that point, your wrists are about over your elbows. Okay. So I'm going to show you a video of me doing rest pause BTN presses just for fun, right? Let's look at a video. Let's look at the old hairy, ugly dude of bigness from when was this? It wasn't uploaded a year ago, I'll tell you that much. This is basically from the old dungeon days. maybe 12, 13 years ago. This is rest pause style. So I unrack the way I unrack. I would do 3 reps, rest, 3 reps, rest. This is rest pause with 230 pounds, just for reference. There's me in the old dungeon. See how I'd unrack it like that, just about at ear level. You can see my wrists are about over my elbows. And pressy poo, 1, 2. How deep you go is going to depend a lot on your mobility and your girth. The bigger you get, the harder it is to go deeper. So that's, you can see right there, as long as your elbows are getting slightly below your shoulders and you're keeping your wrists above your elbows, you're going to get a wonderful amount of side delt stimulation. So I would do my 3 reps, rack. And let's see, how long did I wait? That was about 24 seconds. Let's see how long I would wait. It wasn't long. That was at 24 seconds on the clock. I'm getting under like 10 seconds later. It's literally about 12 to 15 seconds later, I'm doing more work. So this is very brief, early bulldozer style. Bulldozer training, rest pause training, what I call bulldozer training. Just as an interesting side note, I came up with bulldozer training about the same time that myo-reps came out. I was writing about bulldozer training on Muscle and Brawn, I think around 2007. And I think myo-reps was making its appearance around the same time. Sometimes people think one was pulled from the other, or that I pulled bulldozer from myo-reps. I did not. What had happened was I liked rest pause, the dog crap style of rest pause, but I didn't think it was enough. I wanted more sets. So I was trying to create a rest structure or rest structures for my own type of training. So basically I took the dog crap or DC training protocol and expanded it to do more sets, anywhere from 3 to 5, typically in the bulldozer world. And that's kind of where the evolution came from. Some people think I pulled it from myo-reps. Myo-reps and bulldozer were actually developed about the same time, independently and unaware of each other. Big John, during overhead press, thank you, Paul. I appreciate the donation. During overhead press, I feel almost a popping sensation in my elbow. Sometimes I feel like a vein or ligament is moving around. You could have some inflammation, which is putting pressure on, your tendons or connective tissue. I wouldn't say it's in your head. If it's one arm, there could be some inflammation. If it doesn't hurt, that's a good sign. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to try to play one on YouTube. But for me, is that the funnest thing to deal with? No. If it doesn't hurt, am I going to get in the gym and continue to train? Yes. But I would probably consider getting it checked out if you ever have an opportunity by a sports doctor. Milan, one question about dumbbell pullovers. What do you think about it? Where would you put it in a classic full body workout? So a dumbbell pullover is going to be more of a lat focused exercise. Because of the elbow rotation you're getting, you're going to get some triceps involvement. Don't panic about that, okay? It's just part and parcel of a compound movement. So when it comes to dumbbell pullovers, lat focused, if you're going to do a full body workout, we really have to look at what lat exercises do you want to do, or what back exercises do you want to do? Pendlay rows, dumbbell rows, lat pull downs, dumbbell pullovers. What I would suggest doing, because we don't have room for a million choices, is I would potentially rotate them every other week with lat pull downs. So you could do lat pull downs one week, or dumbbell pullovers. Or if you want to get really funkadelic, you could do a superset, like a pre-fatigue of dumbbell pullovers and then lat pull downs. The world is yours. You probably have a hard time doing that at a commercial gym, but that's what I would consider doing. Big Andy. If you're doing seated and lying leg curls as well as hex bar deadlifts, are RDLs required? Nothing is required. So let's get that off the books. What we want to do when it comes to any muscle group is say, is this the amount of work I can do per week for that muscle group based on the available time I have in gym? So you're doing seated and lying leg curls. It sounds like the same week, potentially 6 sets. Let's just say 6 sets. Do you need to do RDLs? No. I said I'm doing all 4. I'm still trying to perfect. Do you need to do RDLs? No. One thing you could do is hex bar deadlifts one week and RDLs the next. Or you could do like lying leg curls and RDLs every other week. You don't have to overpack things. It really depends, on what you have time-wise. You don't need to do RDLs. But when I'm just being real here, and I'm not telling you guys you need to do this. When I am only doing leg curls for hamstrings, I feel like I should be doing more, even though I'm doing deadlifts. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm just doing one of the foo-foo-y or right exercises. So in my mind, I always want to be doing something a little bit more for hamstrings. Do you have to do RDLs? Could you do the glute ham raise, etc.? Could you do a more mild dumbbell RDL or whatever? Yeah. That's just my general thoughts. There are no rules. You'd be perfectly fine doing lying and seated. You don't need to do RDLs. So, you don't need to do them. Jim from LinkedIn. I actually have this live running every week on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, and LinkedIn, and Facebook, and YouTube, if you can believe that. And I don't get really any LinkedIn comments because, I don't know. I had LinkedIn for a long, long time, and I had a huge amount of contributions, which was unexpected and appreciated. I used to spend more time posting things over at LinkedIn, but I don't do it as much anymore. What do you think? What do you think about the book behind you, Total Recall? That would be that way. It's all right. I mean, I didn't mind it. It's an okay book. Some of the information's good. Some of it is all right. I mean, I think it's one of those things you have to read if you're a big fan of bodybuilding and the history of bodybuilding. It's definitely something to read and put on your reading list. And Josh, thank you so much. I appreciate Josh and Paul tossing a few coins in the well. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'm an independent content producer. I do this to support my family, and every dollar truly matters to me, and every person truly matters to me. It's not about money, but I want to be able to do what I love and be able to feed my family. So I sincerely appreciate it. Andy, festive holidays are incoming. Ain't that the truth? We got snow yesterday. Have you got any tips for your viewers on managing food temptations? Family gatherings, number one, I want you to have fun. I want you to relax. If you indulge a little bit too much, go right ahead. Go right ahead. If Aunt Bertha brings her, pumpkin pie or whatever, or Oreo cake pie, whatever, ho-ho pie, whatever cake, eat it. Eat 2 servings. Celebrate. These are the times we should be celebrating. Don't abuse food. Don't use that as an excuse for self-abuse, But have fun, celebrate, have 2 servings, go all in, ho, 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 drink a few too many beers, eat all mom's Christmas cookies. I used to come home and my mom would make, the big ice cream tubs, the big, huge, tubs of ice cream, the things, whatever they are. She would have like 10 of those things filled with Christmas cookies, right? And she's like, Stevie, no, like I ate like 5 buckets of those things. All kinds of buckets. This was when I was still pretty lean. I want you guys to enjoy. Life is short, my friends. And I know most of us aren't thinking about that. And it's not on our, radar. I'm 57. I see people my age passing away every day. I just had somebody from my high school pass away yesterday, unexpected. You don't get to know how long you're here. The best balance in life, in my opinion, is celebrating the celebrations. When I celebrate, I like to celebrate hard, not abusively, not with regret. But the rest of the time, we need to take care of ourselves so we can expand life, so we can enjoy more celebrations. So the biggest tip I have for anybody during the next 5 to 6 to 7 weeks, when we're going through Thanksgiving and the holiday season, Christmas season, or Hanukkah, or whatever you guys are celebrating, peace, love, and joy to everybody, right? New Year's. Then we have the football season. Then we get into the playoff season. And it's like one extended eating festival. My best advice is don't turn every day into a bloat lord fiasco. On the celebration day, celebrate. On the rest of the days, be pretty normal so you don't have 4, 5, 6 weeks of gaining 15 to 20 pounds that you'll regret. Does that make sense? Big Austin. Normal for there to be massive difference between their standard versus hex bar deadlift. Conventional 605, sumo 625, hex 780. Yeah, you're always going to see a much larger hex bar number. Generally, you're more centered under the weight. It's a little bit more leverage friendly. How much that's going to shake out is going to depend on the individual. And if you use high handles versus low bars. But even with a low bar hex, you should be able to pull a little bit more because it's more centered. Now, hex bar and conventional is going to be highly, highly specific. I was always good at conventional. I suspect it was because I spent 20 years building my quads and my back before I started pulling. Sumo, I always felt some knee stress. My knees wanted to buckle in. I think it was because I was so quad dominant by that time. So, some people are just naturally much better at sumo than conventional. I'm not one of them. So, long story short, when it comes to those variations, it's really going to depend on the individual. For reference, weights fly off the floor, even at the heaviest weights, but I struggle at lockup. Absolutely shoot me videos. Good speed generation is nice. I would say as a general thing, many of us can get a lot of weight off the floor, that initial generation, but we're going to slow. I'd like to know how you're training. I want to make sure you're not training too heavy. One thing I will say is a game changer for me was doing every other week block pulls or rack pulls from 2 to 5 inches. Not right below the knee, not above the knee, but lower than that. Louis Simmons mentioned at one point in the article, and he wrote many articles, and I can't recall which one, that he noticed that on some of his strongest deadlifters, they were weaker off the floor, like from 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. I noticed that myself when I first started block pulling. I got some blocks at home, not big blocks, maybe 3 inches. And I started to block pull, and I was weaker on the block pull than I was on a floor pull. This is not unusual, but it is a good call to action that maybe we should consider training both, if that makes sense. Ice cold. We should not, number one, I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. We should not look at working out as a punishment, but as a privilege. I agree. But some people, I would say some people don't like to work out, and they do consider it a punishment. So, yeah, I get you. I do. I completely get you. It is a privilege, especially compared to the people that are suffering that don't have that privilege. We should be thankful for it, that we get to work out, yet people go to the gym and they waste it. That's kind of life, one of the aspects of life in general. I would say one part of being happy in life is being appreciative and thankful for the opportunity. Now, you can be appreciative and thankful for the opportunity to work out, but hate working out, right? I get it. One thing I don't do is condemn people for their choices, personal choices that aren't hurting other people. I mean, there's an argument that if you lose years off your life, you're hurting other people in your life, your kids, your wife, etc. That's, obvious. But all I know for me personally is that every day I get to wake up and do the things I love to do, it's a blessing. And I don't like to over push the word blessing. And I don't like to over push, the sappiness. But for fuck's sake, guys, you're going to learn this once you get around 50. You're going to see people dropping like flies and horrible things happening. It's a lot shorter than you think. Do what you love. Be thankful, be kind, be patient, do all good things. Be a servant, and don't waste days. Ian, any volume split advice for someone that likes to train every set? Number one, set that term failure aside. It is antiquated. We don't use that in the massive iron world. We're going to brainwash you into the cult of massive iron. Right. We push sets for maximum safe quality reps. On your pressing and pulling, you can pretty much go to failure, max safe quality reps. On pulling, you're going to lose speed. On pressing, you're going to lose speed. You start doing failure on posterior chain movements, and you are going to get a big kick in the kajupies, right? In the big ball of Ruskies. So that's why we don't worry about failure. We worry about pushing sets for maximum safe quality reps relative to the risk and reward of that exercise, or the feel of that exercise. So with that said, if you're someone that likes to go deeper, that's how I trained for the most part of my early existence. I would start with 2 sets per exercise. Push them hard. And then if you decide that you can do 3 sets on an exercise, do 3. Evolve things based on needs. I'd rather have you evolve into more volume. If you're looking at increasing the intensity, and we're not talking intensity meaning weight relative to your 1 rep max, intensity meaning how hard you're going to push each set, and you're going to push every set deep. If you're going to increase that intensity level, start from a more moderate volume and then build up or build into more volume if you feel it's needed and appropriate. Does that make sense? Big N. How many days per week do you think is the most optimal? We whipped out the O word for maximum gains. Maximum gains, I want you to set aside days per week, and I want you to take a broader picture. Step back. The true key to building maximum mass and or strength is not what you're doing today. It is the long road. It's a 10-year plan, right? I would say it's a 10-year plan to file off the rough edges. It could be as little as 5 to 7. That is mostly about consistency. That is mostly about hard training. That is mostly about having quality, focused nutrition, nailing your bulks, staying in the gym, staying safe, progressively overloading, getting a lot stronger than you are now. That is the optimization we are after. Okay? You are going to have different seasons in your life. Some seasons you might only be able to work out 2 days per week. Some seasons you might be able to work out 6 days a week. We don't arbitrarily want to say there's a magic way, because there isn't a magic way. Because the road over 5 to 10 years is rarely the same for any individual. Does that make sense? So all that dancing around aside, what I would say to you is if you can work out 4 days a week, that's good. 3.5, you can get a lot done. 2, you can still get a lot of gains, but I'd probably just don't get frustrated. That's just a season in life. That you can still get a lot out of 2 days per week. But we just want to eventually increase it to 3.5. There's a lot of chatter like you can't train 5 or 6 days a week unless you're on chemicals, which is silly. With my work capacity, I could train 6 days a week, 2 workouts a day. Obviously, I'm not going to do an extreme amount of volume, but my recovery is fine. So that type of nonsense, cult speak, bro speak, whatever you want to call it, is silly. I want you guys to always remember that optimal is doing the right thing over a long period of time. It's not a specific number of days. But, when you get down to 2 days per week, you probably want to train more. 3 days per week, you can make a ton. If you only train 3 days a week for 10 years and you laid yourself side by side with somebody trained 4 or 5 days a week, you'd look the same. Because time evens things out. With muscle building, the faster you start, the slower it levels off, or the faster it levels off. Even if you start 10% slower, it's all going to even out at the end, because muscle building naturally is finite. So just keep that in mind. The real key to natural mass or any muscle building is consistency over a long period of time. Don't worry about days of the week. Don't worry. Optimization is really about consistency. Steve, do you keep a physical training log like a notebook or whiteboard, or keep it digitally? Sometimes I've done the whiteboard. I don't have one up here. Do I have over here? You can't see it. Next to, all you can see is Total Recall. But over here, further on, I have logbooks that I've used before. Right now, I use my workout tracker. I'm developing a workout tracker. It's been an alpha. We're going to release it very, very soon in 2025. That's what I use right now. I use a workout tracker. For those of you guys that are pen and paper guys, logbook guys, I want to show you mine if you don't mind. So let me just give you a commercial. Look, I make $5 off this, right? So it's not like I'm going to become rich. So I'm going to search loggy log on my website, Super Living Today. And let's see. You can get the Massive Iron logo back, fleece, zip-up hoodie. Here we go. This is a logbook I sell, $19.99. That's the back cover, front back cover. This is what each page looks like. Date, training, exercise, weight, reps, notes. It has 200 workouts. You can log in here. Nothing fancy schmancy. It's just a workout log. You can get this at Super Living Today if you want to put $5 in my pocket. It has 20 extra pages in blank pages for notes and whatnot. Writing down the phone numbers of all the people hitting on you at the gym, so on and so forth. But I used to just do logbooks. I love logbooks for a long, long time. I do tracking app right now because I'm going to be releasing one. Any useful or unique Massive Iron shorthand symbols. I like to know my plus ones. So I will just circle a number. If I had a plus one or a plus two, it doesn't really matter. I just want to know. I want to look back to previous workout. Like if you do like if you do bench 165, 888, and then next time I do 165, 889, I would circle the 9. So when I look at my logbook previously, I could see that I had a 9. If I regressed, I'd put an X through it. So if I was at 888, and then this week I do 887, I would just put an X over the 7 so I could still see the 7, but that would tell me that I regressed. So that's about as complicated as my shorthand would get. And let's see. Whoops. Sonic, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You guys are being super generous. Sonic, thank you. I appreciate it greatly. You guys are going to set a record today. Let's see. Where were we at? I lost track of where I was at. There we go. Let me get a drink real quick. Then we'll roll on. Post your questions up, guys. I'll stay on as long as you guys have questions. My wife's off getting her hair done. Whatever. Me, I spent all day getting my hair done. It's getting a little bit fuzzy. We're going to have to buzz it. All that gray coming in. Look, it's still a hairline. Not bald. Right? Michael. Greetings to everyone from Berlin. Michael's a client of mine. Michael's the guy that I posted a few days ago that everyone cried steroids. Not everyone. Just wanted to thank you for the coaching so far. Thank you, Michael. And encourage everyone hesitating to take that step. The results will speak for themselves. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for saying that. It means a lot. And I love the opportunity to work with you. You're a wonderful person. You contribute on Team Massive. And I'll tell you that I value that greatly. I really, really do. And I'm not understating that. Henry, when do you think the best time to program hamstring work would be? Because I do push-pull legs and my hamstrings don't recover in time for deadlifts on pull day. Good question. I would probably structure things so if you're doing push-pull legs, and I assume you're doing hammy whammies on your leg day, I would maybe, that's a tough one. I would maybe rethink the plan a little bit because you could move your hammies to right after deadlifts, but then you might have hamstring soreness for squats. So we're kind of getting into the area where we have to ask ourselves, is push-pull legs the best fit for me right now? Obviously, it's working, but it's causing some inconvenience. So I would probably, Henry, consider maybe switching to an upper posterior. In the massive iron world, you do upper, which is chest, shoulders, arms, posterior, which is legs and back, rest, and then repeat. I'm not certain that would be magic, but we need to find a way to space out recovery. So if you like to train frequently, you're going to have to find a split that allows a little bit more recovery. You can break the rules and train like legs 1 day a week and then everything else with frequency. So you could do push, pull, legs, rest, push, pull. So let's say you do push, pull, legs, push, pull. On your leg day, you work hammy whammies, right? So on push, pull day, you do your deadlifts. And then the next day, you do your squats or whatever you're doing. And then you have, next time you come back to your second pull day that week, it doesn't have to be deadlifts, right? So you could start off with maybe power shrugs and then do pendlay or dumbbell rows. Does that make sense? I would consider that if you're a 5 day a week trainer. You could also, if you have that frequency tick, put in a leg exercise or two on the last pull day, like lunges or Bulgarian split squats or leg extensions. So you get a little bit of extra work and extra frequency. Ian, on my second leg day, my lower back is not healed in time for deadlift. Same story, but everything else is fine. Should I just remove? No, I don't want you to remove the deadlifts to service a training plan. What we have to do is, like we just talked about previously for Henry, we have to maybe adjust the plan because we don't want things to fit. You know, we don't want to just stick with a plan, a frequency, a structure if it's inconveniencing us. We need to think about it a little bit and maybe make some adjustments. Does that make sense? Big Justin Jones. Happy Friday, big hairy ugly dude and team massive. Any downsides in switching barbell squats to? No, not at all. One of the things I mentioned is that if I had to start all over again, I would probably only do safety bar squats. Because squats, yeah, great when you're young, no problem. The older you get, the bigger you get, the harder it gets to get under the bar. I can barely physically get under the bar in regular squats. It's not a mobility issue. Well, in a sense, it is. The bigger you get, the more it pushes the bar back relative to where your elbows are. I can't get back that far. I can do all the mobility work under the sun, and I'm not going to be able to get under the bar. That can become pretty normal as you age, and it can start to tear up the shoulders. I think the safety bar squat is a brilliant thing. I think it should be a solid main choice for anyone that is serious about the long-term, about long-term training and taking care of their shoulders. If I had to go back all over again, I had access to all the equipment I do now. My leg workouts would be safety squat bar, leverage squat. Those would be my ABs. And then I would do lunges because I like them. And then maybe leg extensions. I'm not against hack squats. I'm not against leg presses. Leg presses can sometimes beat up your lower back. But if I had to go back all over again, that would be the cornerstone. I would do that. How much weight would you expect someone to lose on an aggressive 4-week cut? I would hope to see 10 pounds. I think you could do 10 to 12 pounds. I have some guys that do 15. A couple of clients that can knock out 15 like nothing. I have had times where I've done 18 and times where I've done 20. So 10 is kind of the minimum goal for an aggressive 4-week. Hey, Steve, if I want to run BLT, bench long-term program, for the 4 main lifts, can I do it at the same time? I'm not sure I would do those on deadlifts and squats at the same time. Deadlifts, I'm not sure I would do either of them without adjusting them as they are written. That's going to be pretty punishing. I don't know that I would ever do that volume on deadlifts. If I would not do squats at the same time. So you could do that fine on the overhead presses and the bench, but I would be really, really careful on the posterior lifts. Big Sam, can you stick with the same list for years without having to switch it? Yes, you can. With that said, no harm in trying new things. I've tried everything in 40 years, Sam. There's no harm in trying new things. And you have to leave the door open to evolving things, right? I don't like this exercise anymore. I'm tired of this exercise. Can I swap in something equivalent? Absolutely. There's no urgent need to switch exercises because it is about the hard training and the progressive overload. You don't need to trick the muscle. You don't need to do the old switcheroo trick, right? That's antiquated nonsense. Silly talk. Does that make sense? Big Billy Baker. Regarding specialization programs, when do you recommend them for clients? Whenever you're in an intermediate and you have a good understanding of form and you're able to nail the bulk and you're able to nail consistent hard training, then you're ready for a specialization program. A specialization doesn't need to be radical. There are degrees of what we can do. By radical, I mean really intense specialization programs. You could move like 2 sets from chest, shoulders, and back, for example, for a total of 6 sets and port them over to legs, etc. So you could do something as simple as that. Let's say that I have a home gym consisting of standard 1-inch adjustable dumbbells, an easy bar, a few pair of weight plates from and a bench. What exercise options can I do? So you have dumbbells, you have barbell, you have easy bar. You can pretty much do everything. I have a lot of home gym variations. I mean, I can't sit here and list out all the exercises you can do. I mean, do you need help building a program? I'd love to help you. If you have a program and you want me to make suggestions, just post it up on Team Massive. The number of exercises you can do are ridiculous. Dumbbell rows, T-bar rows, Meadows rows, inverted rows, Pendley's rows, Yates rows, chest-supported dumbbell rows, lat-focused dumbbell rows, chest-supported barbell rows, seal rows. It just goes on and on. Pull-ups. Really, it comes down to what exercise you can't do. Lat pull-down, seated cable rows for back, leg presses, hack squats for legs, chest, you can't do any cable stuff, any machine stuff and shoulders, you can't do any cable and machine. So I'm not trying to be dismissive because you're a long-term follower of this channel, and I appreciate that greatly. I think the question is better answered: what exercises can't you do? I am always available to look at your program and make suggestions. What I would suggest, Tristan, is to put something together, DM it to me, or post it on the Massive Iron Discord group, and I can help you there. Big Adonis. I find that I can do 5 sets, a 5 to 4 of 3 with last set AMRAP. I can get 2 to 4 more reps than if I first did if I did the first set for max reps. Does this mean I'm getting more out of the last set AMRAP? So when you do the first set for AMRAP, okay, ignore the rep range. When you do the first set for AMRAP, let's say you're doing, let's just give an example. I'm going to throw out all of his numbers here, and I'm going to give you a practical example just for clarity. Let's say you're doing 200 on bench, and you're going to do 3 sets. Okay, follow along. You do AMRAP, you get 12 on the first set. If you AMRAP the first set, you're probably going to end up AMRAPing the second set because you're going to have that fatigue. There's going to be rep decay after each set if you're doing AMRAP. So you do 12. The second set, you're probably going to only be doing 8. Third set, probably only 6. So that's an example, 12, 8, 6. All 3 sets end up being AMRAP. Let's say you had a goal of doing 3 sets of 10 on bench. You do 12 AMRAP on the first, you're probably not going to be able to get 10 on the second. Probably not going to be able to get 10 on the third because your reps are going to deteriorate. So what could you do to set a progression indicator? If you didn't want to do the rep goal system, you could do the rep goal system. Or you could push until you hit all 3 sets for 10 reps. Okay? But then most of your sets are going to be AMRAP. If you do the last set AMRAP, like 10, 10, and then max, then when that last set hits 10, then you are going to move up in weight. Now, the first protocol, every set AMRAP is going to be more intense. The second set, the second type of programming where you push the second, only the last set for maximum reps. If you do that over the long run, you're still going to make amazing progress. It's going to equal out over the long run. It will. Just a minor difference, but that'll smooth out. We have to adjust that approach. Do I do all sets AMRAP? Do I do 1 set or 2 sets AMRAP? Based on how the feel of the exercise is. Some exercises are punishing. You don't want to do them all to AMRAP. In the long run, it won't matter. So I'm kind of setting the table here. You said if you do the first with the last set AMRAP, you can get more reps than if you did the first set for AMRAP. That's normal because you could probably do 10, 10, 12. And then that would be 32 reps. As opposed to, let's say you try to do AMRAP and you get 12, 8, 10. You're going to have more of a decrease in reps when you're pushing them to failure. We don't want to worry about that, though. Both are fine protocols, but we don't want to get tripped up on the math. Is this making sense? Because the goal isn't a math equation. The goal is progression. So which one should you use? It doesn't matter. The one you prefer for that exercise. Don't worry about the reps. They're going to go up and down, up and down. Let's say you do 12, 10, 12, 8, 6, AMRAP, 3 sets of bench with 200. And you decide when you hit 12 reps, you're going to move up in weight. So you move to 205, and next week you do 10, 7, 5. You're going to drop in reps, and then over time, you're going to work the reps back up until you move up in weight, and then the reps are going to drop. You're going to work them back up, and then you're going to move up in weight, and we're going to continue this cycle of weight and reps. The same thing is going to happen if you do last set max reps on bench. You hit 10, 10, 12. You decide when you hit 12, you're going to move up in weight. So you move up in weight, and all of a sudden, you went from 10, 10, 12. You added 5 pounds. Now you're at 10, 10, 9. Now you have to move that 9 back up to 12. When you do, you add weight, and it's going to drop back down. It doesn't matter. Like, hard training is the cornerstone of what we want to focus on. Does that make sense? And the math will will do this. It'll go up and down as we add weight. So when you do more sets for max, you're going to see a fall off of reps just because of the intensity. Big Justin Jones. I do 4 warm-up sets for squirts, 3 working sets. It takes me 30 minutes. No, that's pretty normal. That's the world of an intermediate lifter. That's one of the hard parts of getting stronger and doing big compound movements, is that it takes a lot longer to warm up. In many cases, when I was at my strongest, half of my workout, 45 to 50 minutes, would just be squirts or deadlifts or death lifts, right? Same with bench. That's just part of the intermediate life. That's why if you had to do a full body as an intermediate and do squat and bench on the same day, I wouldn't have any exercise or time for anything else. Does that make sense? Can I make a dumbbell Bulgarian split squat more quad dominant by putting a plate? It's going to naturally be quad dominant. Not being dismissive. I'm just thinking through this. By putting a plate under the heel. You can try it as long as it feels good on your knee. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Big Justin Jones. I have RDLs and 5 more exercises. Workout takes me at least 2 hours. Is it a problem? No. It's only a problem if your partner, wife, partner, whatever, is yelling at you. If you're a bachelor, train all day. There's no downside to length of training. No. The only downside is if you need to get home. Is it bad to overhead press after chest and back? Whenever you're looking at questions like this, we need to look at the bigger picture of the program. What type of program you're running, how the structure is. On upper days, for many of my clients, they do chest and then a shoulder exercise. So we will do upper day 1, chest, shoulders, 4 exercises, and we'll alternate between chest and shoulders. Day 2, we'll do shoulders, chest, shoulders, chest. So it evens out over the course of a week. How you structure things is fine. How you structure things is up to you. Any way you do it's fine. It's not going to be a problem. No, but everything has to make sense in the bigger picture of a program, how things are balanced. All right, let me get a drink here. We're about an hour and 45 minutes in. We'll keep rolling. My new way to train is to do the opposite of what the science crowd is. That sounds brilliant to me, because you're throwing yourself in the deep end of the pool, and you're going to listen to your body, and you're going to adapt, and you're going to evolve, and you're going to thrive. It's not that science is bad. I'm not anti-science. But optimal is number 1, a long-term approach of consistency and reasonable training. And optimal is evolving things based on needs. What's going on in the gym? I don't like 3 sets of penalty rows at 8 reps, but I like 4 sets of 6. So I'm going to switch. Is that optimal? It is to me. As long as hard training is involved and it's reasonable, it's optimal. Does that make sense? Joshua, they say high frequency. I'll do low. They say low reps. I'll do high. Yeah, just train hard, and that's the beautiful thing about training. If you train hard over the long run and nail your nutrition, and it's reasonable, it won't matter. What are some of the major differences in structuring a cut versus an extended fat loss for an overweight client? Number 1, if you're obese and you need to get the weight off, you need to stop worrying about strength. I'm afraid you hear I'm afraid that I'm going to lose strength. You know what? I feel your pain. I was 346 pounds and nearly killed myself with type 2 diabetes. I get it. I lost 100 pounds. My bench, took a nosedive. My squat took a nosedive. My deadlift did. But then when I was done with my cut, I was able to build them back, right? We need to understand, number one, that when you are overweight, you're putting yourself in harm's way. You're reducing your longevity. When you're dead, your 3-lift total is 0. Let that resonate. That's something I had to tell myself. When I'm dead, my 3-lift total is 0. So we need to focus on getting the weight off as quickly and sustainably as possible so we can get on to the good things, more strength building, getting our strength back, etc. Sustainability really has to be the key during an extended fat loss period of time. It has to be the key for anything. So, regardless of what you're doing, it needs to be sustainable. But you need to understand during an extended period of fat loss, there's going to be bad days, rough days, struggles, and you can't beat yourself up over them as long as you're making forward progress and focused on taking care of yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're not focused on taking care of yourself with food, then you're just trying probably to do a fat loss cut to look better. That's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But we need to have a focus on taking care of ourselves and on long-term damage control, developing better habits, sustainable habits. Sustainable habits is really the big thing on the extended fat loss period. Those that are just doing bulking and cutting usually have a pretty sustainable or healthy diet eating plan to begin with. I do upper posterior, but don't know how many sets for arms to do. Start out with 6 sets for biceps and triceps each a week. And then you can add in more if you want, if you have time. On an upper posterior, you can also add in a 5th-day junk day, which you can add in more arm work as well. The Legend, how's it going? Good morning, Big Hairy Ugly Dude and Team Massive. Thanks for tuning in. Poor Sedrick, my wife just went to chemotherapy this morning. Sorry to hear that, man. Really sorry to hear that. I hope she is doing okay. Big Paul, thank you. Always good to see Paul from New Mexico. Thank you for the donation, Paul. Appreciate it. I really like bulldozer laterals, but the program I am doing does overhead press standing, sitting 3 days a week. Is it okay to sub in? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You don't need to press 3 days a week. You could put in a bulldozer lateral. That's perfectly fine and reasonable. It's not really going to change anything. Big Paul, the glute ham raise is underrated. I would agree, my friend. Joshua, thank you. I appreciate that. We work out so we can enjoy the holidays guilt-free. That's the way I like to look at it. Celebrate the celebration days relentlessly. Life is short. Enjoy your birthday. Enjoy the holidays. Enjoy the celebration days. Enjoy the weddings. But the rest of the time, be Rocky Balboa. That's one way of putting it. Sonic, thank you. I can't thank you guys enough. Big Josh, how's it going, Big Josh? Thanks for tuning in. Steve, barely slept the night before last and felt lazy yesterday. Tempted to skip my workout. Your rant video pushed me into the gym and I hit some significant PRs. I was going to tell you to take an extra rest day off, but then you came back saying you smashed it, so I'm really happy to hear that. I will say one of the videos I made way back when was fuck your feelings. And basically, how you feel is a lie. Now, I'm not telling you guys to do anything crazy or reckless or whatever, but don't assume that if you're tired, you can't hit PRs. One of my most memorable training days, I remember getting 4.5 hours of sleep on a Friday night. I worked second shift. I got home late. Back then, I was eating like a chubbalard, 10,000 calories a day. I got to bed at like 3, and my daughter was young and got me up at like 7:30. So I had a food hangover and a life hangover. But, for like a split second on those days, you get like a little brief glimpse of wind, of life. And I went and trained. And I believe it was on that day that I hit 645 for a double on squats. Maul, how's it going, Maul? Thanks for tuning in. Big JP, any tips for a bigger neck? Just continue to train normally and your neck will grow. I guarantee it. I want you guys to understand, once you get to about a 17-inch neck, you're going to pick up sleep apnea. That's not speculation. That's science. You can go out and do all the neck training you want, but it's going to take you 5 years to build a big neck with neck training. In that time, you're probably going to build a big neck without neck training. So I just want you guys to understand that I'm not against neck training, but what I want you guys to do is to understand that you probably don't need it. And you're going to have to train hard for a long period of time to build up your neck. So, Ian, is there no real benefit to weight training more than no, I would never say that. We don't want to create arbitrary rules. So in any season of your life, you can train according to how you can recover. What I'm telling you is that there's different seasons over the course of 10 years. In the last 10 years, I've had weeks where I've trained 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 days a week. We do what we can in a season and what we enjoy. Don't worry in a specific season if you're too low. That's what I'm kind of saying. Like if you can only train 2 days a week because it's just a brief season. On the other hand, we want to focus on not just arbitrarily saying, I'm going to train 6 days a week. We want to have a good starting point and then to adjust based on how recovery is going. And if you want to do more days, do more days. I've been consistently hitting 4 sets of 50 bodyweight calf raises for the last few months and have increased difficulty by increasing the heel drop. Do you think will be a good long-term approach? Yeah, it sounds good. I would combine those with a seated raise so you can target the soleus if possible as well. We're sitting here playing around with this little connector thing. My mental tick. I would try to work in some seated calf raises as well, just to hit that soleus for a little bit of extra bonus size. Sonic says he has a genetic fade. I have a hairline. People assume I'm bald. I'm just lazy. When I was in healthcare in 2000 to 2004, I drove a mobile hearing unit and I worked very long and intense hours. Sometimes I'd get home at midnight on an 18-hour day and I'd have to get up at 4. So I didn't really want to get up, wash my hair, comb my hair, do all the hair thing. So I just started buzzing it. Adonis. What are some of the best training sessions you've had that had a lasting impact on training thereafter or on yourself as a person? Not a lot of specific workouts, but sometimes just things I've tried. Like the season where I became my strongest, where I was doing daily singles, doubles, triples, or quads on bench and squats. That season of my training, I got incredibly strong, incredibly fast, which was completely shocking, and it taught me a lot of things. when I took a year and did bulldozer rest pause training, I learned a lot. I learned I could do less, but I was far more sore. And soreness isn't inherently what we're chasing. And I found that like once the body, after like 3 weeks, the body started to adapt to the demands of the program, and then my performance just started to run. So one of the things I learned from that is when you ease into a new program, or when you get into a new program, generally there's going to be a 2, 3, or 4 week adaptation period where your body's just acclimating to the general demands of the program, and that performance doesn't really start to increase until after that, or rocket off. It's not like it's a light switch, like you're not getting anything out of it. But when you jump into a new program, the first couple of weeks, 2, 3, 1, 4, whatever, your body is going to spend some time acclimating to the demands of the unique demands of the program. And then from there, you're going to you should start to see a better performance increase. Does that make sense? So the people that are constantly flip-flopping programs, their feet are planted more in the area or zone where they're never really getting a chance to shine, where the body is not given a chance to acclimate to the program to the point where they can really start crushing progress. Does that make sense? Joseph, 16 pounds down since beginning of September, being on your plan. Thank you. Thank you, Joseph. And I'm super, super happy to hear that. If you had only 6 exercises to do for the rest of your life, what would they be? If I had only 6 exercises to do with the rest of my life, I'd probably change my life, right? I'd probably change my lifestyle. But I understand what you're saying. Theoretical, we'll play. And you guys tell me what your 6 are, right? Drop them down below. I'd love to hear it. Maybe I'll post this on Instagram. Remind me, you guys send me a DM. I'll post this on Instagram, and we'll see what everybody else says. So, so we have to think through this. I'm probably going to go with leverage squats because you can do a lot of volume and not quite as knee punishing or physically punishing as the regular squat. And I think it tends to be a little bit more quad focused than regular squats for me, because I tend to beat up my hamstrings. Not that I don't know squats, but I only have 6 exercises. So I'm going to do the leverage squat for quadarooskies. Back. Going to have to be dumbbell rows. Chest. It's a toss-up between dumbbell and barbell bench, but I'm probably going to go with dumbbell because I can easily do more volume. So we have dumbbell rows, we have dumbbell bench, we have leverage squat, dumbbell overheads, and then I got to fill in the gaps with 2. Probably dumbbell curls. And what would I do for triceps? Seated tricep push downs. Those would be my cornerstone 6. Ian. Alex, my son, has a 72-hour rule between pressing movements, meaning you shouldn't do heavy presses again. I don't like rules that bully all situations. So I don't know what he's saying and what the specific context is. I would say in general, you want to be, if you're pushing hard, you're probably not, this is probably a general reasonable ballpark. But if you're doing full body and you have like an HLM or things are programmed properly, I could bench on Monday and I could dumbbell bench on Wednesday. I think for what Alex is doing, that's fine. So I don't agree with it as a general blanket rule. It, like I can heavy press, chest press on Monday and then heavy shoulder press on Thursday. I generally don't personally like to train presses again 2 days later, but that's just kind of the way I train. Yeah, in general, that's reasonable, but you don't want to make it into an all-encompassing obsessive rule. There's a lot of nuance here. Mitch, are body part splits still legit in 2024? Absolutely. In fact, they've been shown scientifically that there's no benefit to real frequency training. The last two major meta-analyses that we had said that there's no real advantage to any specific frequency. Many people have invested a lot in the frequency world, so they're nervous about body part splits, but I've covered this in depthly in other videos. The last two major meta-analyses have shown that there's no real advantage to anything, that it's more long-term. And body part splits versus full body, it doesn't really matter. Versus frequency, it doesn't matter. I have no horse in the race. I don't. Most of my clients do some form of frequency. Maybe a third do body part splits, but at the end of the day, you need to train how you want to train. I've always trained with a body part split and never held me back. And that goes right along with the science. So there are some voices out there that are pushing antiquated science or outdated science because they're highly invested in one side. In the massive iron world, we are not invested in one side. We see the bigger picture. We see the history of lifting. We understand that the commonalities over the last 70 years of lifting are much broader and bigger and rich than just trying to staple frequency as some all-important, holy variable that must be worshipped above all else. It's a very minor variable when you're looking at hard training and nailing your bulking and progressive overload and consistency and control and all the other things. So if you do look at the meta-analyses and what some of the other experts are telling you, they will generally, if they're scientifically reasonable, tell you that frequency doesn't really matter in the long run. Mitch says he's concerned it's not enough frequency. Concerned. No, then train. If you don't trust in body part splits, then do frequency. I mean, it's really as simple as that. No one's pushing anything here. You have the freedom. In my world, we're trying to give you guys the freedom to relax. Bad influencers, and I'm saying this because I'm being honest with you guys, trying to put you in little boxes, these boxes of fear where you can only train one way because it's magic. And I want you to understand it's bullshit. That's not an opinion. When I first got in the industry, everybody was doing body part splits and they're seeing the same results as people with frequency training. That's not speculation. And that's not bias. I don't care how anybody trains. But frequency doesn't have an impact. The reason why we thought it did was because when we stood back and we analyzed the frequency studies, they inherently had more volume than the body part split studies. So we put a bunch of newbies on a little bit more volume. And of course, there's going to be a slight bias. That was what we found out. So we found out when volume was equated that everything was pretty much the same. But the bigger picture is that you have the freedom to train how you want. Okay. That's what we're trying to teach here on the Massive Iron World. So Mitch, I'm going to say, train the way you want. 2/3 of my clients train frequency, 1/3 train full body. You want to know something? They look exactly the same. There's no difference. There's no difference at all. There's none. So this isn't a condemnation of frequency, and it's not a condemnation of body parts. It is opening the door to the reality that it does not matter, and science backs this. So if you do not believe in something is not enough frequency, then use frequency. Use the program you like. Sonic says volume is greater than frequency. The key here is weekly volume. Weekly volume is the most important thing. Let's ground things in pragmatism for a moment. You, whoever you are, how many days a week do you have to train? Okay? 3, 4, 5, whatever. You have to work with the volume available to you, right? Perhaps you're one of the lucky people and you can train 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, right? That would be awesome to have that ability to do whatever you want on a given day. For the rest of us, we have limited time, and training, gym training, is a luxury. It's our passion. It's our escape. It shouldn't be bondage. It shouldn't be all these silly fights. These people are creating wars where we don't need to create wars. You can train 3 days a week or 4 days a week, or maybe even 5 days a week. So you do the weekly volume that works for you in the structure that makes sense, that you enjoy. And that is the true magic and the true freedom. Nothing else matters, not in the long run. And that's what we have to remember. Was at the gym with my friends, and they told me that they noticed that muscle belly is a bit big, and I told them that I've been bulking, but also I have a thick core from doing the heavy basics. So they were saying your belly is a bit big. So if you're just doing the basics, yeah, you're going to develop some core strength and size. You know, you're just about every compound movement is going to work your obliques and lower back and abs to a degree. And that's, you know, unless you want really thick core and you want to super progressively overload and look like a blocky bodybuilder, that's generally fine for aesthetics. And, you know, if you want to get really, really strong, there's an argument that you could, you know, do some more direct ab work. But I lifted up my shirt and also told them that my waist stayed small and that it's just the thickness of the core that has increased. That's fair. I mean, one thing I would say just for anybody is just to measure your waist at the belly button just once a month, just to monitor things, just like you do your arms and your legs, because you can start to pick up some ab thickness and it's not increasing your waist or pant size. Questions about the AMRAP sets was more about the strength on the sets. If the first set is AMRAP, I could get 8, but if I do 4x3, well, if you can do 11 to 12 on the last set of AMRAP, you need to move up in weight. And then you're going to get down to 8 to 9, then you need to move up in weight, and then you get down to 6. It'll all even out with progression. Does that make sense? So the reason why you can get more reps on the last set is because because you need to progress. It'll even out. If you're doing 200 and you get 8 on the first set, okay, hear me out. We'll just use 200 on the bench. If you do 200 on bench and you can get 8, if you can do 11 to 12 on the last set of a 4x3, you're using far less than 200. Okay, does that make sense? So the weight's not equated. You're using a lighter weight. Christos. My sister has some neck, shoulder, upper track issues, and the doc recommended strengthening the area. She is completely new to the gym what should I recommend? You can do something like a Kelso shrug where you could sit on a seated cable row and just pull the shoulders back like this, okay? That'll work kind of the lower traps and to a degree the neck area. A machine shoulder press will work the traps and the neck without being really traps heavy, and that's more beginner friendly, if that makes sense. So she doesn't have to do all these shrug exercises. So those are probably two really good starting points. The seated machine overhead press is really good. And like a Kelso shrug or even just a seated row or any kind of row where she's working her back because of the traps. A chest supported row is generally a good idea. It can be on a bench or a chest supported T-bar station. But for women, that can sometimes not be as comfortable because of the whole chest supported part. Just let me know if you have any more questions. I can make some more suggestions. Adonis. Apologies, having a hard time wording the question. I'm weaker on the first set than if I did it on the last. If you're using the same weight, doing AMRAP on the first, okay, you're using two different protocols. So the confusion is, look, let me break out a Word document here a minute, okay? Because we're really getting in the weeds here, and I want to do this justice, and I want to explain something. Because you're trying to equate two things that are different, okay? That's the problem. And I mean that respectfully. You're trying to equate two things that are different. Let me just get a Word document up here, and I will go really quick and give you guys an example of what I'm talking about. So let me pull this up, present, share screen. Okay. Can you guys see this? We'll go a little bit bigger. Okay, so you're trying to equate two things that are different. Where do I get this crap off here? 208. Okay, you said you did 8. And on the other one, you're doing like 12. Okay. This right here and this right here, let's say you do 8, 6, 5, whatever. Okay. If that's the max reps you can get here, and if that's the max reps you can get here, what's happening is I guarantee you're not using the same weight. It would be more like this or more like this. You're trying to analyze reps when the weight isn't the same. If the weight was the same, something would be dramatically wrong. Like you're not doing warm-up sets here and you're jumping straight to 8. Because this is basically impossible unless something's broken. You can't. You will pick up some central nervous system stimulation here, and the weight will start to feel lighter. But even so, under normal training, you're not going to be able to do more reps on the last set, even if the fatigue is minor compared to the first set. The only way this is possible is if you didn't warm up here at all and you jump straight to 200. Or if it was an absolute fluke. But what I think is happening is this, right? You're comparing two different protocols. I would have to see the specific numbers. If it's the same weight, something dramatic is going on. That's either it's completely aberrant, like you're a little bit on the, I don't know your strength levels, so I don't want to suspect. Some of it could be that you're weaker on a lift and you don't have the neuromuscular adaptation yet. So I would really have to look at numbers. Should you train a muscle group while it's still sore? You can. If it's extremely sore, like punishing sore, you probably need to rest a day or two just so you can enjoy your workout. Just be extra safe and adjust during your workout if you need to. Have the same with squat. For me, after 2 to 3 sets with 1 to 2 in the tank, I built the confidence to get more reps. That can be. A lot of times when you're doing lighter work, you'll also find that your central nervous system is more stimulated. 89 Charlotte, thank you. I appreciate that. Do you think that only doing machine exercises can hinder athletic performance outside the gym due to the lack of core engagement? I think, I'm going to put it this way. If you want to maximize your athletic performance, I would not do only machines. I think there's far too much value in dumbbell and barbell and body weight. It's not that machines are bad, but we have to look at the bigger picture in the massive iron world, a well-rounded approach. If I was going to train someone athletically, I would still do barbells and dumbbells as the cornerstone because it has the potential to give a greater impact. It's not that machines are crap. Machines can be part of that equation and should be, but I don't think it's the best way. Mike, when does a 1 rep max calculator become unrealistic? Well, at the higher end, there can be some variability with things can fall apart a little bit. 185 by 22. If all you ever did was high weight, obviously, or high reps, obviously, if you just try to jump on 315, your connective tissue and ligaments and stuff probably aren't ready for it. They're not strengthened specifically for that. The body adapts very specifically unique demands. So if I am just doing a 10 by 10 on bench, for example, like the bench long program, I'm not just going to, and if I do that for 12 weeks, if I never do lower reps than 10, 6 by 10, 8 by 10, 10 by 10, I'm not going to jump on and try to bench 400. I don't do that. This was the case recently. I did the 10 by 10 for many, many, many weeks. And then I wanted to test my bench press. So I took 3 or 4 weeks lowering my reps, getting used to heavy weight from a central nervous system standpoint and to get my connective tissue up to speed. Does that make sense? Oops, lost where I was. Is it a good idea to do deadlifts, RDLs? Why would you do them without no straps? We're not training, Tristan, I want you to hear this because I've said this many times. We're not training the deadlift to build up our grip. We're training it to build up our deadlift and our back and our traps. Don't do this. This is complete backwards nonsense. Backwards nonsense. If your grip is weak, do your grip training. We don't work the deadlift to work our grip. This is one of the big things I try to teach. If your grip is weak, go strengthen your grip outside of the deadlift. But doing your deadlifts and RDLs with no straps is, number one, a good way to remain weak. Number two, it's a good way to increase the likelihood of elbow tendonitis. If you want to do hook grip, fine. Do hook grip. You're still going to increase the likelihood of elbow tendonitis. If you want to get better at hook grip, that's a personal goal. By all means, do so. But I don't think you should be doing hook grip on RDLs at all. Let's focus on what we're trying to accomplish with the RDL, and that's strengthening our hamstrings If you want to work on your hook grip on your deadlifts, what I would do is work up on your warm-up sets using hook grips, and then you can build up some steam and some progress. But do your working sets with VersaGrip Pros if you can, until your hook grip becomes locked down and super strong. What single exercise do you personally enjoy doing the most? One that makes you feel badass. Generally the deadlift or the dumbbell row. When I'm doing dumbbell rows for 200 for 25 reps, I don't want to sound like ego, because this isn't ego, but it's something nobody else does. I feel good about that accomplishment. I'm not trying in the gym trying to beat everybody, but it's something I do that nobody else does. And that makes me feel like I've done something. Weighted pull-ups, weighted dips, levered squats, low incline bench, RDLs, and T-bars. Mitch is putting together his big six, and that's a good quality big six. I have no issues with that at all. Justin, how many reps per set for sissy squats? Good question. Are you doing the station sissy squats or doing the old school sissy squats? If you're doing old school, I would probably start at 8 and build up. You want to be safe. You really want to be safe. So that's the key thing. Be safe, build in the reps. If you're doing like the station, and I have a sissy squat station, I like to do higher reps and build up to 15s and 20s. Justin said he's doing it on the station. I would start at 12, and you can hang between 12 and 15. Upwards of 20 if you really like self-torture. Mitch, thanks for your answer on body part splits. I enjoyed training. Thank you, Mitch, and I appreciate you being reasonable, because I do not have a horse in any race. What I don't like in the fitness YouTuber landscape is people that take away your freedom to enjoy your training. I don't care how people train. In the long run, it's not going to matter how you train. And that's one of the biggest lies they're feeding you, is that if you only have a magic frequency, you can unlock the magic. The magic's right here, folks. The magic is in consistent training and hard training and consistent nutrition. It's in all these things, the things that give you freedom to train. And whenever somebody says you have to train one way or the other, you train the way you like and do it hard. Back squats to develop big legs. Ice Cold Tristan's talking about his 6 exercises. RDLs to get stronger. Z press, that's a fun lift. Close grips, I like that. Pull-ups and dips. Good exercise. I can't complain with that. The middle-aged natural. I just gave you a shout out in my new video for your deadlift prowess. Thank you. I will check that out. Once I'm done, usually I run off to take the dogs out and go to the bathroom, because this is a long, uninterrupted break. But I will check that out afterwards, and I appreciate that. I really do. So thank you. Harry. Guys, we have 5 questions left, just letting you know. Get your questions in now. If not, we'll be dropping it off. Do you use like chalk in your hands? No. I like VersaGrips, because in coaching others, I've learned one thing over the years, that probably the most common issue other than lower back issue is elbow tendonitis. And elbow tendonitis comes from over gripping years and years and years. So I'm a big fan of VersaGrip Pros, or at least straps, because I don't like elbow tendonitis. I've had it so brutally bad. It was insane. Adolfo, 18-inch arms, legit. When we look at our arms, okay, for naturals, these are general guidelines. We're not trying to create rules, right? Reasonable general guidelines. This bump here, can you see it? That's the styloid process, right there, that bump. You want to measure your wrist above it. So you measure your wrist above, and whatever that is, naturally a reasonable, we're not trying to create rules, we're trying to create reasonable guidelines or goals. You measure that where you're at right now, body fat percentage wise, and add 10 to 11 inches to that. So if this is 7 1/4 above the styloid process, you could aim for 17 1/4 to 18 1/4 inch arms. Does that make sense? So wrist size and bone size can have something to do with it. If you are bigger, like well above 25% body fat, you could add 12, upwards of 13 on there because of your, I'm not being insulting because I was a fat butt myself. I was 346 pounds. But if you're 7 here, you could go upwards of 20 inches. If you're really obese, it can be more. So the 10 to 11 above this area is reasonable until you get to maybe above 25% body fat, and then it could be 12, upwards of 13. So when you're not lean, when you're more around 18%, you're going to give yourself a little bit of advantage, more towards that 11 range. So I would say his wrist size probably at least 7, probably 7 1/4 would be my guess. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Got to earn those max attempts. Yes, you do. What body part split would you recommend 4 days a week? If you're going to do a body part split, you can do chest, triceps, back, biceps, legs, chest, triceps, back, biceps, shoulders, and traps, and then legs. That's probably my favorite. It's just the most flexible and enjoyable. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to hang on for a couple more minutes to see if we have any more questions. Thank you guys so much. We had a wonderful live and a lot of great questions today. Just a reminder before we go, and while I'm waiting, you guys can follow me on Instagram at Ben the Barman. Any questions you have during the week, just fire them off in my DMs. Coaching, I'm going to be adding some folks. Please, it's only $89.40 after the first month, and that's for the rest of your life. Take a look at that. I'd love to help. You can check out the coaching tab. Also on my website, I have apparel. I have tons of workouts. If you haven't checked out the workout section here at my website, tons of workout ideas. My book, Massive Omnibus, you can go over here and search Omnibus. It's not a book, it's a book series. And right now there are 8 books. The last book I finished last night, late. That's why I have bags under my eyes. 367 pages of information on fat loss, bulking, a ton of information. So please check that out. I do phone consultations if you want one-on-one consultations. I do custom workout development, anything you need. I'm a small content producer. This is how I make a living, so I appreciate your support. Next week is Black Friday. I will be here, and I'm going to have some specials. We're going to have discounts off phone consultations. We're going to have discounts off custom workouts. I'm going to have a new service called an assessment where I do a video review of all your information and personalize it for you. And I'm going to have a year of coaching special. If you want to save $333 in a year, this goes for existing or new clients. Hit me up. I'll get you hooked up on that today. Usually about 1/3 of my clients sign up for the year ride. Joshua, thank you, Joshua. And the final question, what are your thoughts on reverse grip bench? I think it's a lot of hype. I think a lot of people can't do it. I think it's not magic. And I think if you like doing it, do it. But understand it's only one minor piece of the equation. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful weekend, and we are out.
It's not almost over. It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.
Thank you, Adolfo. I appreciate that.